Hey everybody, welcome to L&D Done Right, sponsored by CD2 Learning. My name is Miles. I'm the guest interviewer today of the show's normal host, Gil Williams. Gil, thank you so much for inviting me on and launching this podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Miles. Really enjoy all the support you've given us, and thank you for interviewing me today. Super excited to get this started, man.
Absolutely. So just to start, tell us a little about you and maybe a little bit about CD2 Learning.
Yeah, so I am from the Kansas City area, born and raised, big Chiefs fan myself. Really love the Chiefs. But honestly, what we do here at CD2 Learning has been an absolute pleasure to be a part of. I'm newer to the organization for the past 6 months, but I spend my days working with clients and prospective clients, understanding how they're trying to support their teams. What's the next generation? How are we going to support them and their developmental needs? And I get to do that day in and day out and see how our platform and services can potentially help them. That's it. And so it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm excited to continue to talk about it here.
And I know you're one of the people that I know as being most passionate about learning and development. How did you first get into learning and development just in the industry?
Sure. Well, falling into the industry is a little bit of happenstance. I've been very close with our founder at CD2 Learning, Rich Bartlett. He was a mentor of my own career. And honestly, my desire for learning started with him once I got into the professional world. Unlike most guys in business, at least I can say that with my close friends, is that I hated school, hated learning, didn't understand the passion and like importance of development there. But once I got into the real world, I was like, oh man, this is never going to stop. I got to really learn how to learn, frankly. And so I got into this business through joining Rich Bartlett, helping their organization take it to the next level and continue to grow there. But my passion for learning started when I got into the real world, the business world, is because I want to continue to be the best person I can be. Didn't do that very well with a book in front of me, but now as a professional, I get to ask questions from some of the top industry leaders and professionals I know, no matter what function they do. And so I can continue to develop over time and just get better and better in different life skills, not just job skills.
Yeah, it's a great point how we all learn differently. And I think one of the things that's cool about CD2 is you guys recognize that with how you approach learning. One of the questions I had for you is, obviously L&D is going through a transformation where it's sort of becoming everybody's problem. It's becoming very tech driven. And I just wanted to get your take on, how would you describe the current state of things in L&D broadly, just to start?
Really, I think that it's starting to become top of mind for a lot of people because of what we found with COVID. COVID was the accelerator of that, right? It created what do they call it? The great job shift, finding new careers. And, sometimes it's not always greener on the other side. But what corporates did is they started to take a step back all right, this increase and turnover is not great for our business. Why is this happening? And so what people are starting to find is it's because their individuals just feel like, this job isn't for me. I don't see a pathway forward. I don't see a pathway for growth, or it's kind of boring. Well, the first fundamental key for that is the first impression through onboarding and getting them excited about being a part of your business to continue development in the professional world. And so if learners or professionals see an opportunity to continue to grow professionally, it's amazing what they'll do for you and how many walls they'll break through for you. So I do see a fundamental shift across multiple industries, no matter where you're at, but especially in the more industrial spaces like manufacturing, mining. We've talked about this previously, and it's crazy to see how much time is being spent. Okay, how do we start to store this knowledge base up, transition that to the next generation? How do we support the next generation of our staff, identify those future leaders, and also figure out what does legacy planning look like? We've never thought about this before. And so how do we retain talent and plan for the future with this talent? It's pretty crazy.
Yes, it's such an interesting time because there's a lot of moving factors. So another question that had me wanting to ask you is, what's something that most L&D people believe that you don't believe to be true?
I think when I talk to a lot of L&D professionals, they feel like getting a couple things. One, that we're trying to move them when I talk to them in a sales capacity, in a prospecting capacity, that I'm giving them advice to move everything to online learning. That's just not the case. I am a personal person. I love human interaction. And that sort of interaction is not going to leave the learning space anytime soon. And so rather than replace that with a full online learning sort of strategy, I love it when people get excited about that hybrid learning experience. How do we complement in-person or virtual meetings with an online strategy that can just amplify the objectives, right? How do we give a learner the opportunity to study a little bit? That way he can be more engaged in their conversations, in that human interaction, and just feel confident. And, I know that I'm going to ask this question because I've already taken this preliminary information and I can apply it to what I'm learning today. And so that's one big thing that I like to make very clear, is that I am not here to replace what you do with your team in person. I'm just here to help you streamline the process a little bit and give you more opportunity to be more strategic in your training, initiatives, to complement that with some online strategies. And so that's a big one, right? Is that the second one is, frankly, the lift of these programs and getting buy-in, across their employee base. And so getting buy-in starts with the supervisor level. I was talking to a prospect who shared a little bit of an insight of a study he did. And the most important thing to getting buy-in and actually getting individuals to participate in the learning is making sure that there is a supervisor standing behind them saying, this is important. And so actually getting people to buy into an online strategy that can, moving some things to online, it's not all that difficult. It starts with the supervisor level, showing how much support they can provide to their team without diminishing their productivity. Once you start to show that pathway of, hey, look what you can do for your team to help them grow without taking time away and creating downtime in the field or downtime in their work schedules, the amount of, adoption rates just skyrockets at that point.
And how do you think about, when you talk about adoption rates, how do you think about dealing with a learner that has an iPhone in their hand, that uses TikTok, that's distracted by every million number of notifications? How do you engage that brain? Because to me, that feels like these changes, like, unemployment market and stuff, those come and go. But the one big one that really isn't coming and going is attention spans are shrinking. How do you adapt to learners' attention span shrinking?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And so when we implement learning strategies, they have to be bite-sized, right? So we're breaking up a learning objective, like a full course is another way you could say it, and breaking that up into bite-sized activities, right? So maybe it's each day I'm asking that learner to achieve some little sort of piece of information. And so giving them the opportunity and those little wins along the way is huge. The second piece of that is going to have it be interactive content. It can't be just, hey, sit through this video, flip through these slides and take this quiz. But how do we start to have some games along the way and interactions with the content and the learner so that we can drive home that information? Like, spot the difference images of the proper way to dress in your uniform as an employee, or, interactive maps of the field or a mining site. Things like that are all ways that you can get really, just let the learner to interact with what they're doing throughout the course and just drive home that information.
Yeah, it's such an interesting point. Like you're saying, it just has to be all about them.
100%.
If you get away from that at all, you're cooked.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's a matter of creating that fun environment, giving them little wins along the way. Our generation, we're surface level. We're pretty shallow. If we don't feel like we're achieving something, then our attention spans on to the next thing that's bright and shiny. And so we have to keep them engaged, keep them happy and entertained and feeling like they're doing something good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you're in the software space, which means you always have a roadmap for where things are going. kind of covered where things are today. Where do you see L&D in 5 or 10 years?
I think it's going to continue to down the gamified learning space, getting even more, robust in that area. We're focused on ways that we can do that today through simulations. Again, we've talked about some of the different simulations in games through, Spot the Difference, or, even making a quiz, not a true false or a multiple choice, but how do we make a game out of it? Like a poker game. We had a really cool multiple choice sort of interaction with a client where it was actually looked like a Texas Hold'em card game, and it was a way that they quizzed their employees. Really fun. The next thing is going to be configurability. How do we take branded sites and allow their admins to configure their dashboards and their experience? One for them, but also their learners. Or even taking that a step farther, and how do we allow for configuration for the learner to configure their own experience of the dashboard and the platform itself? And so I do think that the industry is going that direction. We're already starting to see shifts going that way. And the one who can make it as simple but configurable as possible and giving the data insights that help admins to continue to amplify and elevate their learning experiences for their teams is going to be the winner for sure.
And do you think it'll continue to be a fragmented market come 5, 10 years? I mean, obviously you guys want to have a big voice in that at CD2 over time, but is it just by nature, the amount of specialization? Do you think it'll lead to lots of players in the future, or could you see it consolidating a good amount?
I could see some consolidation. What we're seeing right now is there's a lot of people in that lower space that have, go a mile wide, but a couple inches deep. And so what I think that's going to happen, and what we try and focus on, is building something that's organic, that we can take an enterprise solution that has all these capabilities. It doesn't mean that each client's going to use that, but how do we take an enterprise sort of level solution, robust capabilities, and tailor that down to each specific client? All right, what are you trying to achieve today? But when you have those capabilities, that's robust, it allows you to be evergreen with their evolving initiatives as well. We can be and match that evolution and continue to apply new functions based on what they're trying to achieve for the future.
And another question I had is, when you look at the future, I know you guys at CD2 are really big on providing strategy and not just software. So it's this blend of, consulting becoming more software driven and software becoming more consulting driven. Do you think that is a trend that is also here to stay, of, SaaS, buy it, pay all this money, forget it, kind of what Salesforce.com, all these giants have made popular as a model? It feels like CD2 has a different take on that, or you wouldn't be doubling down so much on strategy and service.
Sure. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And there's definitely a debate out there for this conversation. I do think that we're going to continue to see some sort of level of service at the super enterprise levels, right? But when you start to get downstream from that, organizations are trying to streamline client engagement as much as possible. I mean, when you log on to Facebook and something happens, when's the last time you were able to actually contact anyone directly at Facebook? I think you're going to continue to see that across the SaaS market, whether it's learning, fintech, anything. That's going to be the model you're going to see. We don't personally believe in that model. We believe taking that enterprise sort of experience from a client success and client management's perspective is really important. So putting a team around each one of our clients to make sure that not only are we helping them through implementation and onboarding, but we're understanding what their needs are on an ongoing basis and making sure we're consistently updating those for our client, right? And we're consistently changing the platform as far as additional use cases, and just making sure the platform's functioning, moving them in the direction that they're looking to go. And just being an extension of their team. That's an investment that we have taken on and absorbed, so that we can ensure that every single client is handled in the proper fashion, and something that separates us, I believe, in the market, whether it's learning, again, fintech, to anything. I think that that's a differentiator as far as a SaaS business goes.
Yeah, it definitely has felt like it to me, knowing more about you guys. So I want to do a little bit of rapid fire. I love this part of any podcast review, of books that you're reading, books that you've read. I'll just throw a couple questions at you around that. So in terms of leadership books, are there any that you'd say, are non-negotiable reading for any young or emerging leader, whether recently read or just all time?
Sure. The one that I think was fun is the one I sent you recently. Do you remember the title of the recent one I sent you?
I think Lead Like Santa Claus.
Lead Like Santa Claus. I think it's a very timely book that everyone should be reading. It's a really cute book, but it's fun to read. I've read it a couple years ago. I need to read it again this year. A few more is what is it called? So Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus is a good one. Can't Hurt Me is another one that I'm reading about David Goggins. I think that's a pretty basic one that everyone should read. His stories about mental toughness is something that anyone should learn from. So I've been really hooked on mental strength and just how you can implement that in your own lives. Recently, there's a really cool one called Never Split the Difference, which is a sales book, but it's an interesting story about an FBI agent and how he applies his hostage negotiation skills into everyday life, right? And into his business world. And any business professional, sales professionals that are out there should absolutely read that book. And so those have been the ones that have been top of mind for me lately. I know they're pretty leadership, mental focus, not really learning focus, but those have been the fun ones I've enjoyed lately.
And any in the learning vein, that was going to be, the second one I wanted to get at. Any learning specific books. It's like, if you're a new L&D leader, if you're trying to see where's the space moving, where are the cutting edge ideas, any books you'd recommend there? I know it's a little bit more of a niche field, so there might not be any that come immediately to mind.
Nothing to mind right now. I'll continue to think about that, and I'll get back with you on that one.
Yeah, awesome. So last question. Anyone wants to reach out to you, is LinkedIn an okay way? Is that just to look you up if they wanted to interact with you, interact with CD2, the show, anything like that?
Absolutely. LinkedIn's a fine vertical to reach me at. You can also reach me at my email, gwilliams@cd2learning.com. Feel free to reach me there as well. Happy to answer any questions about what we do. And frankly, I'll be the first person to help guide you in the right direction if you have any questions from learning perspective in general as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the interview today, and look forward to following more episodes.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Miles.